Initially, Java can be used for to develop home appliances applications. So to work with the Java, what are the things you need in this sense? You need a software that is called nothing but a development kit, Java development kit. It has different components, sub-components, like the first one is a Java C. It's for compilation purpose. You can use to run the Java programs. You can use the Java, and Java P to know about the any class and its methods, the class which is available in any package. Because the Java is the version, it's not possible to remember all the class methods and then their arguments. So if you want to recollect, there is no directly help is not available. You have to install the libraries and then according to your requirement you can use. For example, what my requirement is, I want to know about the packages. I want to know about the methods which are available in the string class. So that I can apply like this. The string class is available in the package java.lang. Whenever I can use the class name string, it will display all the methods which are related to string class. So like this you can work with your one of the component of Java P. Clear with this? And the next one is a Java doc. To prepare the documentation for your Java program. Suppose if you created any Java program by using any packages and some of the methods you are using, that documentation it will prepare once you can use a Java doc. That the document file has been created in HTML format. And the next one is the applet viewer. To run the applets, so applets in the sense to work with the browser based applications, you can use this applets. You can use the applet viewer. And come to the features. So the first one is a platform independent. That means you can run the Java programs on any operating systems. That means you can run on Linux, Unix, Sun Solaris, and Windows. Right? And the next one is the robustness. For Java programs, virus is not attacked because it won't create any exe file. It won't create any exe file. That means because by default, whatever the source code you have designed, the source code file extension is .java. Once you can compile, it generated the bytecode. The bytecode file name extension is .class. There is no concept of exe file. Whereas in case of C language as well as the CPP, once you can compile .obj has been created, and after execution .exe is created. Once the file having the extension .exe, the virus is easily spread from one file to another file. And the next one is OOPS. It will support all the object-oriented features. The main three pillars of your object-oriented programming languages are data encapsulation, as well as inheritance and polymorphism. So regarding this, we'll discuss later. And it's a compiler as well as an interpreter. So already I told you there are subcomponents are available in your JDK kit. So by using Java, so you can compile the programs. By using Java, you can run the programs. That's it's a compiler as well as interpreter. And then packages. So by using these packages, you can define the set of classes as public. That means you are going to use these classes and its member functions in anywhere and any program. So that is the use of packages. And multi-threading, executing simultaneously several processes simultaneously is called threading. Thread is nothing but a process. Executing several processes simultaneously is called a multi-threading. And one more feature is adaptability. That means to work with the window-based applications. That means to work with the buttons, text boxes, listeners, to perform any actions, to perform any events, such type of applications you want to develop you can use AWT, and applets same as AWT, but the difference between these two is in case of applets, the output has to be displayed on browsers as well as you can display on Windows format also. If you want to access the information in the browser, you can run that application by using Applet Viewer. And come to the networking, it's nothing but to establish the communication between the systems, right? So for also called socket programming. Here my question is, with respect to this networking, what are the different methods you can use for this purpose? What are the different methods you can use for this purpose? To work with the networking in Java or in general, it's a general concept. What are the different protocols you can use? Any more? Basically, there are two protocols you can use. The one is the TCP/IP and the next one is UDP. In this case, that is while working with your networking, transaction control protocol for information protocol, internet protocol, and user datagram protocol. Clear with this? So the difference between transaction control protocol and then in UDP is, in case of transaction control protocol TCP/IP, the data is transferred in the form of characters. Character by character it will transfer. Whereas in case of UDP, the data can be transferred in the form of packets. And one more thing is, in case of TCP/IP, it's possible to get the acknowledgement once the data is reached the destination. Whereas in case of UDP, it's not possible. So like this, you can work with your some of the features in Java. And come to what are the different editions of Java is supported. There are different editions. One is the standard edition, or also called, you can call it as a J2SE, and J2EE Enterprise Edition, and Mobile Edition as well as a Micro Edition. So J2SE is again a combination of core Java as well as advanced Java. In case of core Java, whatever the concepts are as specified as the features, those concepts coming under your core Java. And come to the advanced Java, there are different concepts which can be very useful to work with any type of the applications. The first most important concept is the JDBC. To work with the database, to work with any database. So while talking about the database, again there are two things: standalone database as well as the client server databases. Anybody can give this solution for this? What are the different types of databases are available? What is the difference between standalone database and then client server database? What is the difference between standalone database and client server database? So that's one. That is a local database and the remote database. Okay. So what happened in case of local database? What are the drawbacks? You prefer local database or remote database? Which one you prefer? Okay, that's depending on application in general. So what is the drawback in case of a standalone database? Why you preferred a remote? Why you preferred a client server database? Yeah. So in case of standalone database, the data is not distributed from one location to another locations. For example, any example for standalone database? Or any example for client server databases? Hello? Any example? Google database is what type of database it is? remote. Okay. What is standalone database? Example. So Google database is nothing but it's a search engine. There they're maintaining the database in somewhere. Right? Right. What is the difference between what are the examples for remote client server databases or remote databases? So already I give the difference between these two. In case of standalone database, the data cannot be distributed from one machine to another machine. Clear with this point? Right. Whereas in case of client server databases or remote databases, it's possible to access the data from anywhere. It's possible to perform any manipulations. Whatever the manipulations you want, you can do. It's possible with any applications. In that way, what are the examples for client server database? And based on my differences, and what is the example for standalone database? Yeah, I will give the solution for this. The best example for standalone database is MS Access. You have any idea on MS Access? Which come along with your MS Office software. There is a database called MS Access database. Anybody having the idea? Right. Is it possible, suppose you have created one MDB file in your machine, is it possible to access from another machine? Is it possible to perform any manipulations from other machines? Yes or no? It's not maybe, it's definitely right, it's not possible. Because it's not a logical database, one point. Clear, whereas in case of client server database, best examples for client server databases are Oracle, SQL Server, Sybase, Informatics, Ingress, DB2. Like this, there are so many client server databases are available. Let us take Oracle database. Once you can install the server, it's possible to access the data from anywhere by installing the client software. By sitting anywhere, you can access. Yes or no? Right. So once again repeat, the difference between standalone database as well as the client server database is, in case of standalone database, the information, the data cannot be distributed from one machine to another machine, whereas in case of client server database, the data can be distributed. So generally, while working with any type of databases, there are related environments. For example, if you want to work with Oracle, SQL is available. You can by specifying particular username and then password, you can get the prompt there, you can perform the manipulations. So that is somewhat difficult to do the job. In that case, to overcome this problem, you can use the concepts by using JDBC. You can develop the applications by using some interfaces which can be interact with your backend. So in this case, what happened? The Java becomes a front end and database becomes a backend. Clear with this? And so what is a front end? GUI. Okay, graphical user interface. Any more definitions? Right. Yeah, exactly. The definition for front end is by using some systematic procedures and commands, you can get the data from the database, that is nothing but backend, and you can design the applications based on the customer requirement. Once again repeat, the difference between, so the definition for front end is by using some systematic procedures and commands, you can get the data from the database and you can design the applications based on the customer requirement. So like this, you can use your Java as a front end and any database. So with the help of this JDBC, you can work with any type of the database like Oracle and then SQL Server. Even you can work with the MS Access also. And the next one is the Sphinx. So by using this Sphinx, it's the same as the AWT. That means you can work with your window-based applications. But the difference between AWT and then Sphinx is AWT components are heavyweight components, whereas the Sphinx components are less weight components. That means if you are developing the applications by using AWT, it will occupy more space, whereas in case of Sphinx components, it will occupy less space. And the AWT components are depends on JVM, whereas Sphinx components are not. And if you want to develop the look and feel applications, that means if you want to make the application in the appearance mode, then you can develop the applications by using Sphinx. Clear with this? And come to the next one, next feature in advanced Java, that is RMI, remote method invocation. Here my question is, suppose if you are defining a class, or if you know the C language, if you are defining a function in one program, is it possible to use in another program? Or if you are defining a method in one class, is it possible to use in another class, another program? So if you want to use, how it's possible? Yeah, if it is, if you want to use any member function in any number of programs, previously I gave the example on packages. That is a core Java feature. So by using that packages, it's possible to use in another program. Even in that case, that is a package case, if you're developing a package in one system, is it possible to use that package in another system? Suppose I am developing a package in the system 1. Now what my requirement is, I want to use the same package in the system 2. Is it possible or not? Yes. In that case, you can use this RMI. That's why the definition, you can invoke the methods from remote locations, remote method invocation. By using this concept, you can develop the distributed object-oriented program. All the methods are available in the server side. From anywhere you can access by binding the server, and you can access the methods from client machines. So that is the advantage with the RMI. So first, initially you are working with the classes and their methods. If you want to use those methods, you can use the packages. If you want to use those methods, if you want to distribute those methods to anywhere, you can use RMI. And come to the next one, that is the servlets. To develop the web applications. To develop the web applications. What is website? What is website? Collection of web pages. What are the different types of web pages? Where you can implement in both the cases, can you implement any validations, or either in static or in dynamic? So are you implementing validations on static pages or dynamic pages? So the difference between static web pages and then dynamic web pages is, in case of static web pages, the information cannot be changed. The information cannot be modified. Whereas in case of dynamic web pages, the information has been updated. So you can implement the validations while working with dynamic web pages. Right? What are the different types of validations you can implement? What are the different types of validations you can implement? So while working as email, phone number, yeah. So basically these validations can be divided into two categories while working with the dynamic web pages. One is the client-side validations and the next one is the server-side validations. Client-side validations and then server-side validations. The difference between these two is, before submitting the form, whatever the validations you are going to be implement, those validations are called client-side validations. For example, you try to create a mail ID in Google or somewhere. You are providing some information. While providing that information itself, it will perform some validations. For example, if you are typing the password with a less number of characters, immediately it will display error message. password must be this much number of characters, it must contains the numbers, it must contains the special characters. Like this, it will display the validations. That means even though you are not submitting the form, some of the validations has to be activated. Those validations are called client-side validations. So after submitting the form, what is the use of validations in this sense? Invalid information. To control the invalid information, instead of storing the invalid information to the database, you can control before storing the information to the database. Suppose you are giving, already told validations in the sense email, phone number. Suppose if you are providing the email as XYZ, let us say on particular input field there is no validation, so that you are providing the email as XYZ. Is it the proper email ID? Definitely not. Suppose if it is accepted, that is invalid. To overcome this problem, you can implement the validations before submitting the form. Such type of validations are called client-side validations. Suppose the ID is created. Next time you try to log in. So you are providing some information. What is the information you are providing to log in? What is the information you are going to be provided to log in? Yes, username and then password. So this username and then password can be verified in the back end, that is in the server side, that is the Gmail server or Yahoo server. It will check whether this username and then password is available or not. So that is happened, that validation has to be happened in the server side, that is called server side validations. Once it's okay, it will give a reply. If it is a successful case, it will go for next page, otherwise it will display error message as invalid username and then password. To implement such type of server side validations, you can use the servlets. Clear? Yeah. And come to the last one. It's not the last one, but right? And the next one, beans, Java beans. So to develop any reusable components, already by using AWT you can work with some predefined components. By using Sphinx you can work with the components. Suppose if you want to develop your own components, so based on your requirement, now what my requirement is, I want to display the running time in my application, same as the time which is displayed in your status bar of your Windows status bar. In same fashion, I want to display the system time in my application at the right side top corner of my application. So for this purpose, if you want to display any time at particular locations, you can use some label. If you want to work with the label, you can use the Sphinx or AWT. And to get the date, you can use the utility package. And automatically the time has to be changed. So for this purpose, you can use a multi-threading. That means nearly you can use some 3 concepts for this purpose. In case of Java, there is no component to display running time. It's possible to display the time only one time. If you are pressing a button, another next time has to be displayed. That is not my requirement. Automatically the seconds has to be changed and minutes has to be changed as well as hours has to be changed. Like this, I want to develop a component. For this purpose, you can use the Java beans. The advantage is the reusability of the code, reusability of the component. Suppose to design this application, nearly I can write some 30 to 40 lines of code. Suppose I am working with a project, same code has to be repeated in all the 40 modules. Unnecessarily, again 40 lines of code has to be added to each and every module. So it becomes very complex and it will take more time to load into the runtime. So that is the advantage with the Java beans. And that's about this demo session. If any queries, please raise the questions and I will give the solutions for this. Yeah, JSP, it's coming under your JTU part. It's the JTU contains JSP as well as EJB. And JSP is the same as the servlets, but some of the advantages. No need of designing the interfaces separately. And no need of compilation like this. There are some advantages and no problem. So JT is a combination of JT, JSP, EJBs and JMS, Java Mail,